Good morning, everyone. Let's get live on Facebook, and then we'll be good to go. All right. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Some very serious stuff today, though. I'm going to Albany, New York tonight to go to a wedding. What's going on with my shirt? It looks all funky. I just stopped out of the shower, and I gave myself 17 minutes to pack. 17 whole minutes. I got done in 14 minutes, so we had 3 minutes to prepare our topic today. I sat down, and my computer wouldn't work. So, today's just going to be an Ask Me Anything. Whatever you all want to talk about, let me know. Because I have nothing prepared. I had 3 minutes to go, and I squandered all of them with the computer. You know, if you play poker or work on a computer, it's kind of like with a broken computer. It's kind of like a professional tennis player playing with a broken racket. Listen to the music. Here we go. Woo!
Ben is coming over. Ben and John is coming over.
Ben and John are coming over.
Okay.
Oh, good. Say hello to everyone. Your friends are coming over. I think I've only met them once or twice. What are you up to? Good morning from Italy. Do you want to go to Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Italy's sweet. I've been to Italy a few times. It's amazing.
John coming over Ben.
Ben and John are coming over to play with James. How nice is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Awesome. You want to talk about anything? I don't have anything prepared.
Oh.
Let's talk about reading. Every morning, James and I wake up and read some books. Do you like reading books with me?
Look.
What?
Get a book.
Yeah, I have a lot of books.
Get one.
Get one?
Yeah.
Here's a book.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so every morning, James and I get up and we read a book. Normally, we've been reading about Froggy recently. Don't break my book. Don't break my book. We've been reading about Froggy. Froggy goes to school. James is going to start school in about a month. Apparently, in New York City, they start school when they are 2 years old.
Look,
So,
put
that's
it
nice.
back.
Put it back? It's not so interesting? All right.
Oh.
Oh, I need you to go. It's so hot in here, and you're not helping. Go get ready for Ben and John. Say bye-bye to everybody.
Bye.
Say have a great weekend.
I guess we can.
All right, see ya. Have fun. What's the lesson today? The lesson today is ask me anything, whatever you want to talk about. Let's see. You have to say you're consistent with your timing. Well, this show's at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I am not in a tournament. One thing I've learned about life is if you want to be appreciated and you want to be viewed as a respectable, responsible human, there's a whole lot of value in doing what you say you're going to do. Now, for me, it's easy. 9 a.m. is a nice, perfect time because our nanny arrives here at 8 a.m. That gives me 1 hour or so to get my act together. And then we do the show, 9 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, nice and easy. And it's easy to be consistent whenever you make it easy for yourself to be consistent. I make a weekly podcast. I have a weekly blog, right? I make weekly videos for Poker News. Every single week for like the last 5 years, it's been there. And you all notice. And you may ask, how do you do it every single week without missing? Well, you plan ahead. You can't plan this ahead. This is just as live as can be. But it's easy, right? I make it to where I don't have to do it when I'm traveling, because that becomes very much more difficult. And I'm here anyway. It also forces me to sit down and get to work, which I like. Also, it lets me talk about things and get things off my chest, whatever's on my mind, so that I can have a clear plate when I need to get to work. You need that Mid-States Poker Tour buy-in. Yeah, we're doing a Mid-States Poker Tour giveaway where we're giving away, I think, an $1,100 entry to a Mid-States Poker Tour tournament. You can find information for that at twitter.com/Jonathan Little. Let's see. You think running it twice is implemented in low stakes, would that help the game? Keeps variance lower, which may be good or may be bad. Am I coming to Australia? Nope, we have 2 kids, and it's hard to go to Australia with 2 kids. Let's see. How long do you expect to keep teaching poker? I don't know. It's not so strenuous. So as long as it's not so strenuous and it's nice and fun and enjoyable, I'm happy to keep doing it. Don't plan on stopping that anytime soon. Do I believe in aliens? I believe in, I guess, the law of big numbers. And in theory, there should be other things existing out there if the universe is big. That said, I'm not a scientist. So don't ask me scientific questions because I'm not a scientist. Is it a bad jam for 22 big blinds after a 2.5 big blind raise from middle position? You have 8s on the button. Only the blinds and the raise are behind. No, that's fine. Easy shove. Do you get paid for your poker videos on Poker News? No. They do send out emails for me every once in a while, though. I do a lot of work for call it free or in exchange for things. A whole lot of my work is done for free. And that's because I realize the value of getting in front of people. Poker News sends out their hands, their stuff in emails, right? And it puts me in front of their audience, which is like all poker people. And like, why would I not want to get in front of all poker people in exchange for 30 minutes of work each week, right? It's like a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me. When you win big, do they pay you cash at the cage? They usually pay me in check, but you can get paid however you would like. How do you work on your mental game? Do you get coaching or read books? Both. You also try to actively learn about everything in life. Look, we have a whole stack of books just of stuff to learn, right? Check out my books, though, Positive Poker and Peak Poker Performance. How do you learn to get better at counting combinations? It's really not all that hard. I actually did a webinar on this as part of Poker Coaching Premium. Go to pokercoaching.com/premium. There's a whole section on that in the cash game masterclass that I made. You can get just the cash game class at pokercoaching.com/cash, C-A-S-H. So check that out. Nice logo. Yeah, if you're watching this on not Instagram, there's a little logo up here. How cute. I didn't make that myself. One of my team members made that. Good, easy idea though, right? You're going to go buy that. Yeah, pokercoaching.com/cash, or if you sign up for pokercoaching.com using that link, it's a $99 recurring payment each month, but you can download the cash game class and then just cancel, right? So it's the same thing. What is ICM? ICM is the individual chip model. And essentially, it helps you learn the value of your stack at final tables, because it's not just count your chips and divide it by the prize pool. Yeah, how do you work on your mental game? Study, get better at life, get better at poker, etc., etc. Will we have online poker back in America within 5 years? Probably not. You earned your initial back roll. Oh, I got my roll during party poker. How much more difficult is it to do that today? Not very. Every time I play small stakes cash games, I just win. And I know it sounds egotistical to say, but it's really true. If I go and play like 2-5 or lower in a live casino, it does. I don't play very often. I've only played like 10 or 15 times in the last few years, just for experience, so I can make content for all of you. And I think I've had like 1 losing sessions because I lost with aces. You know, it's like, it's not hard. And as long as you are already good at poker, it's not hard to win money at small stakes. Online, it is tougher. A lot of the sites have upped their rake. Rake is higher than it was back in the day. A lot of the games are tougher. That said, if you play small stakes and just play a lot, you'll grind it up. A few years ago, I did a bankroll builder challenge where I was starting with like $300, keeping a decently big bankroll. I wasn't trying to do like run it up like some of the people on YouTube do, where they're like, oh, I'm just going to put my whole buy-in in. And if I lose, oh, we'll start over. Like, no, we don't do that. I was being very diligent with it, and we doubled the bankroll after like 1 hour per week for a year. So 52 hours, we doubled the bankroll. And that's like 1 solid week of play in theory if I was actually grinding it hard. I'm not going to spend my whole life grinding up a bankroll for show. But if you can double your bankroll in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, 2 weeks of part-time play, it's not that hard to do. You just have to find a game you can beat and play it a lot. Most people just don't want to play a lot, and they want to cry whenever they get unlucky. You have a question about betting decisions. In the Poker Coaching Premium Challenges, you always say to bet your best made hands and draws, but in other areas you say to bet when you have a range advantage, which is more critical. So Pedro, if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, go to the Cash Game Masterclass and click on the flop section. There I go through all of the steps you need to do to determine when you should bet and how much you should bet. And first things first, range advantage. If you have a range advantage, you want to be just betting very, very frequently. If you don't have a range advantage, that's when you want to start betting with just your best made hands and your draws. To the point where if you have like no range advantage or a negative range advantage, like you're behind, you don't want to bet anything. This is why when someone raises and you call the big blind, you should not have much of a leading range ever, and that's because you almost always have a neutral or negative range advantage. You have a range disadvantage, right? That's why you always check from out of position, from the big blind at least. What I love most about poker. I haven't thought about this question in a long time, but essentially, lets you do whatever you want. And also, there is no like political hierarchy to some extent. Now, there is today in these private cash games, but I'm not involved in that world. But if you are good at poker and you study a lot and you play a lot, you will move to the top quickly. It's unlike the corporate world where you go to a job, you work there for 5 years, then maybe you get noticed. If you're a lawyer, for example, in New York City, everyone gets paid the same amount up until they become like 8th or 9th year lawyer, and then they either get a really good high-paying job or they're fired. Think about that world, right? Where you like work 8 or 9 years, you think you're doing okay, and they're like, you're right below the bar of being hired, so you're fired. I don't want that. I want to be able to get my value out of whatever I do, and poker very clearly allows that. You had a big score the other day. Good job. Any tip? Wait, let's see. You won 300 pounds, and you didn't feel like... so you won a bunch, then the next day you won 300 pounds, and you're like, this isn't very much. Get money out of your head. Don't play for money, play because you enjoy and love the game. We consider tutorials on how to use various software. Sure, we'll consider it, but I think you'll just find all of that on YouTube very freely by the company's manufacturer. Like the other day, I was actually making some videos for Poker Snowy, and like I don't know everything about the program. It's not my program. So you will find that if you go to that program site, they'll often have very in-depth tutorials on that because it's their program, and they'll know more about it than I do. Modern Poker Theory arrived today. Great. Right before the hurricane. That's lucky. Final table last night, you had aces. Cut off, bet half your stack pre-flop, you shoved, and got cracked by a flush. Well, if you got it all in pre-flop, then who cares if you lost to a flush? You got it in way ahead. How much my strategy depends on tells? Not a lot. Some, but not a lot. Depends on how bad the opponents are. Tells are great if the opponents have big mistakes in their strategy and big mistakes in their mannerisms, right? Like if you can just look and tell a guy is bluffing, then clearly poker's easy. If you can't do that, well then you sure better pay attention. You made day 2 of an event, short stacked. You need to run good. That's right, when you're short stacked, you have to run good. You have to run well. Thoughts on Helmuth making a deal in some 5-way chop? I don't know. Phil Helmuth does Phil Helmuth things. He uses the white magic to win all the time. All right. With all the various math formulas for EV, pot odds, fold equity, etc., do you really believe it's possible to use that in a real game situation? And the answer is absolutely yes, but you're not sitting there doing math at the poker table. You have ideally studied ahead of time such that you know all the common situations. Take a look at the solvers, right? The GTO solvers. You think people are trying to do that in their head? I mean, they kind of are, but really they've learned the patterns, right? Like, for example, on the flop, if someone bets half pot and you have a flush draw, or a straight draw, or a gut shot, or any of that, you're not folding. You should just know that. You don't have to think, what are my pot odds? Okay. How much equity do I have? Okay. Do I think I have fold equity here? You don't need to be thinking about that. But like you just know you're not folding, right? Folding's out of the question. So you're either calling or raising. And, my Cash Game Masterclass explains if you should be raising and how much. But you're not sitting there doing math in your head. And if it is math, it's very easy math. It's like 30 divided by 150 is 20%. You just know, right? You have a stay-at-home wife and 2 young kids. Any tips or considerations for going semi-pro? Play when you can, if you want. Sounds like you have your hands full, though. If you have your hands full, take it slow, get good at poker, and then start ratcheting it up. But don't hop into poker thinking I'm going to become the best poker player in the world overnight. Would you consider writing a book on 1-2 no limit? I've already done that. Would be great if you show a couple significant hands from your 1-2 games. So look, I made this book just for the people on Twitch. I realized they weren't buying any of my in-depth, thorough products, so I made this short little ebook. It's only like 80 pages long. It's called Strategies for Beating Small Stakes... Oh, wrong one. Ha! It's called Strategies for Beating Small Stakes Poker Cash Games. For this book, I went and I sat and I played 1-2 for like 2 or 3 days at Borgata. Won a bunch of money. I won like $50 an hour. And this explains everything you need to know to beat those games. And if you go to pokercoaching.com/cash right now and buy that package, There are multiple webinars where I go through hands that I played at 1-2 no limit. So Daniel, there you go. I already made it right for you. Go to pokercoaching.com/cash and get this book. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/free and you can see all my books. We explain the best way to calculate a fair chop. Get out an ICM calculator, put in the numbers, and it will spit it out for you. You suggest you learn push fold exact ranges where we push approximately. Oliver, just download my app. Go. I think if you search FTT Poker at the moment, it'll come right up. We're making a new app, by the way. It might take a little bit of time, but it's going to be very robust. But the push fold app there is very good for like 12 big blind stacks and shallower. You tend to call medium hands when there's a raise in front of you, like King 10, Queen Jack, low pairs. Is there some flaw to the reasoning? King 10 and Queen Jack offsuit are definitely better 3-bets or folds. Those hands are not good calling hands because they don't flop very well. Low pairs, sure, those flop great. You either flop a set or you don't. If I was trying to build a bankroll online, what would I do? I would play small stakes cash games. Or I may play sit and goes, depending on the rake and the cash games. If the rake and the cash games is big, it may not be beatable or not all that beatable. But if the sit and go rake is like 10% or less, it's certainly beatable. But again, this just falls back on my skill set, right? I know I can 20 table sit and goes all day and win like 10% ROI. And if you're winning 10% ROI, 16 tabling means you make a buy-in and a half an hour or 2 buy-ins an hour, which means after 50 hours, you've won 100 buy-ins, right? It's pretty good money. What's the best order to study poker coaching material? Go back to the first homework challenge and work your way forward. Or if there is a specific class that you were really interested in that answers a question that you have, check that out because that could be very, very useful to you, right? Like say you know that you have a problem knowing when to bet on the flop, like a very common spot. Well, go to the Cash Game Masterclass, click on the flop section, and study the flop section. Study the flop examples, right? And if you already know what you are having a tough time with, go and study about that. But otherwise, go to the first homework challenge, do that, work your way forward. Watch the first 30 minutes of each homework challenge to see my answer, and then figure out if your answer is roughly that or if you're way off. And if you're way off, figure out why. Early in a tournament, should you avoid getting it all in with ace-king? It depends on who you're against, right? If you're against a lunatic, ace-king is the nuts. If you're against a nit, ace-king is awful. Is there advantage to registering for a tournament early so you get seated at a breaking table? Most casinos don't do that anymore. Most casinos don't really have breaking tables, and they are decided randomly. And now if you sign up early, very often if anything, you don't get a breaking table. The way they do it now is if a new table starts, they'll take a player from each table and start a new table and then bring new registrants into your table. But in most places, if you sign up early, the earliest tables don't break. Those usually break last. So it's the opposite of what you're saying, if anything. Let's see. You've been losing a lot lately by getting it in ahead and then getting 4 outed on the river. You lost some confidence. Why would you lose confidence if you're getting all your money in good? Be happy. If you don't have a read on a player, how do you put them on a range? I assume they're playing somewhat reasonably well and then going from there. But that just mainly means that I am trying to play a fundamentally sound strategy, right? If I think my opponents play reasonably well, I want to use a fundamentally sound strategy, and that will be fine enough. But then you adjust based on what they're doing. What do I think of a random online site I've never heard of or barely heard of? I do not know. So you always want worse hands to call, or do you want to deny them equity? Depends on how much equity they have, right? Say, for example, you raise middle position, big blind calls. It comes like ace, jack, 4. You have ace 2. If they check, this is a spot where whatever equity you're denying by betting is so minimal that you don't really care if they stay in the pot, right? Because if they have 8-7 on ace, jack, 4, let them stay in. But say instead it's 4-3-2, that's a spot where whatever they have has plenty of equity, so you don't really mind betting and making that fold. Are there any non-poker books I would recommend to Mark, who I know is an aspiring poker player who works hard, who studies hard, and is willing to do the work? Let's see. What's a good book for Mark? The Daily Stoic. That's a good one, Mark. I think you're already pretty good at that, though. Sorry, I'm looking at my books. I haven't gotten all the way through this book, Mark, but Tools of the Titans by Tim Ferriss. Mark likes big studies. This is a pretty big book. I'm not all the way through it. Basically, it's a few pages with thoughts, ideas, etc. from some of the most successful people in the world. Again, I'm only like 100 pages in out of 700 or something. But I think it's a good book. Good book so far, at least. What is my sense for the percentages that the following affect? Eric, this is a ridiculous question. None of it really matters. Just go and play well. But variance is irrelevant if you put in a lot of volume. Math is irrelevant if you understand what comes from the math, the principles that come from the math. Psychological awareness is kind of irrelevant if you know fundamentally sound GTO and how to adjust. So hey, that's it. What matters is learning to play fundamentally sound, knowing how to adjust to whatever your opponents are doing wrong, and then putting in a lot of volume. So it's more of a persistence and a discipline game. If you have a lot of persistence, a lot of discipline, and you're very open-minded and willing to study, that's all you really need. If I was down to 20,000, if I was to win 20,000 in a major tournament, in your opinion, how would one deal with taxes? Talk to a tax professional. My tax professional is Teresa Fox. Also, Ray Conler is good. So yeah. What are my thoughts on Limit Hold'em? It's basically a dead game. Will it help your No Limit Hold'em? No. If anything, it's probably not good because the games are very different. Have I seen Flopzilla Pro? Nope. I should look into it, though, clearly, if it's free, if I already own Flopzilla, because I do. Will the updated version of the Secrets be out by Christmas? No. Probably next Christmas, though. The homework challenges are the best way to get good. I completely agree. How and where to learn Sit and Goes. I have an old... If you go to sngseries.com, I think I have a bunch of old videos there that you can buy where I basically play a lot of Sit and Goes with various stakes and then review the hands. It's a little bit old. I have not played... I think that video is like 6 or 8 years old, so it's not like the most up-to-date thing. But it's roughly how I would play today because I was playing pretty well back in the day. And I'm sure if I played today, I would play pretty well, and I play it pretty similarly. Obviously, I'd be looking to see what the best players are doing. You always want to learn from the best players in the world. But at the same time, that's what I would do. People always say, is the old content outdated? Depends on how good it was. I try to make most of my content very good. I make my content very good. I do my best, at least. And most of it stays pretty relevant. Someone was pointing out flaws in my first tournament book the other day. There's like 6 things they pointed out that are a little bit aggressive, pretty much. And they could all essentially be justified by players who were way too weak back in the day. They'd all read Harrington on Hold'em, so they were kind of nitty. And against nitty players, you just run them over. And that's exactly what my book taught to do. And I would not make some of the plays today. Like there's one spot where I said if cutoff raises and you're on the button and you have like 10-8 offsuit, just rip it in on them for 20 big blinds because they're going to fold way too often. And it was true. But I wouldn't do that today. So, is that wrong advice? Well, it was right advice at the time, given the way the vast majority of the player pool is playing. Today, it's a little bit too aggressive, and you need to be able to look at stuff like that and realize that. Is a relatively high rake beatable? Probably not for much, unless your opponents are awful. Should you practice with play money? No. You should instead put a small amount of money on the site and play for that. I would much rather suggest to you to like put $50 on any poker site, doesn't even matter if it's a good one. Realize you're essentially paying $50 to get people to play as if they are taking the game seriously against you, right? If you put that money in, it's you're basically paying $50 for experience, realizing, hey, you may never even cash it out. And that's okay, right? You're playing for experience. What's next? What's the next No Limit Hold'em? Deuce to 7? No, I highly doubt that. I don't think there is a next No Limit Hold'em. I think No Limit Hold'em is going to be the king for quite a while. King or queen, depending on if Hold'em is male or female. But yeah. Let's see. Main event. Under the gun makes it 2.5x. You call King Jack offsuit from the hijack. 3-better fold, Aaron. Easy 3-better fold. Flop comes. King Jack 5. Checks through. Definitely bet the flop. Easy bet on the flop. You have the best hand in your hands. Very vulnerable to hands like Ace Queen, Ace 10, Ace King, etc. So you definitely want to be betting. When you have the best made hands, you want to be betting. This is already a disaster of a hand. 3-bet pre-flop. If you're going to play the hand, folding's fine too. And then, if you get this flop, bet the flop for sure. All right, turn to 6. He checks. You bet 3 big blinds. He calls. Rivers the jack. He leads 3 big blinds. You make it 9. He jams 27. Well, call. Clearly you have second nuts. Yeah, pocket kings. Yeah, not shocking. But yeah, don't fold second nuts. Give me advice on how to read and take notes on the players. Pay attention. Pay attention. Just because you don't have a heads-up display doesn't mean that all that information is not available to you. You have to understand the heads-up displays displayed stats that are relevant, like how often people are playing, how often they're 3-betting. So pay attention. I was just at Foxwoods with one of my friends, and he has a note-taking system for live poker that explains, it's essentially a heads-up display that he knows how to read, where he's keeping track of every hand and how frequently people are playing. So if, let's say, like seat 1's played almost no hands, and seat 3 has played a lot of hands, being very aggressive, he has a note-taking system that allows him to see that. And it's like a heads-up display. Now, I don't think I necessarily need something like that because I'm paying attention and just like kind of keeping a rough running tally in my head. But if you can't do that, then maybe that's the right way to go about it. Let's see. What's the most reliable live tell? I don't know. Excited breathing is a pretty solid tell on a lot of people. How can you stop calling with only top pair? Realize top pair is not a great hand. Always break your hand down. Premium made hand, draw, marginal made hand, and bluff or junk. And if your opponent's range is like all really good made hands, you lose everything. If you double or triple up within the first few hours, you think it's best to leave. No! 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 Luck is irrelevant. Sometimes you're going to run hot, sometimes you're not. Don't think that just because I doubled up that I used all of my luck. Luck is irrelevant. Luck is completely irrelevant. There are no streaks or dry spells unless you're looking backwards. So get all of that out of your head immediately. You may think, some people play poorly with a big stack. That's definitely a leak. Like if you're going to just blast your stack off every time, then don't do that. Just keep playing well. Realize that having a big stack doesn't mean you should all of a sudden drastically alter your play. Ace King, under the gun, 200 big blinds deep. You make it 20. Under the gun plus 2 makes it 85. You make it 270. I would probably just flat here, this deep. Anyway, you re-raise, he calls. Flop comes 10-9-4. I suppose you check, you bet, you fold. That's fine. It's a bad flop for you. Hijack min raises off 12 big blinds. You're on the button with Ace King. I would make it 7 big blinds. What's the more profitable in the long term, cash or tournaments? Depends on how high in cash you can get, right? Tournaments, currently there are no politics in tournaments. In cash games, though, you're starting to see politics at like 10, 20 and above. If you're good at politics, then definitely cash games. If you're bad at politics, then definitely tournaments. Is it better to play 20 or 6 tables at a time? Definitely 6. If you're playing a lot of tables, are you playing only good hands? No! Look, there's this asinine thought process that if you play more tables, you have to play tighter. That's not true. You just have to learn how to play faster. But if you're trying to improve your game, you're almost always better playing a small number of tables, like 6. If you're trying to grind out as much money as you can, you should almost always be playing more tables. Now, that presumes you have a decent edge, right? With the Poker Backing Company I work with, if you have a very high win rate, 10 big blinds per hour or more, either you need to move up ASAP, or you need to play more tables. Say you have 10 big blinds per 100 at the highest stakes already, which nobody does, but if you did have that, you can't move up higher, so you just play more tables. If you don't have a high win rate, though, you may find that playing fewer tables gives you a significantly better win rate, and you can pay attention more, and you can probably move up a little bit easier. So no, don't play 20 tables. 20 tables is bad for everyone unless you are already very, very, very good at poker. That's my favorite casino to play at. I like everywhere that's relatively nice. Would you play live or online tournament if I was starting with 10K? Or live or online? I would definitely play live, probably 1-2 or 1-3 to start, and then go from there. What do you mean by politics in cash games 10, 20, and above? Politics are referring to the fact that a lot of games are now private in live cash games, which take all the bad players out of the public cash games, leaving only good players in the public cash games, and the private cash games are a few pros and a lot of bad players. That does not happen in tournaments yet. We did see that happen for pretty much the first time in this Triton £1 million tournament, where it was half pros, half amateurs. If you were a pro, you couldn't just show up and play. You had to get invited. And I hope that doesn't start happening in tournaments, but it may. Fortunately, I'm one of the pros who may get invited, so it's not like a problem for me, but it is going to be a problem for a lot of people who aren't out there in public being very, like out there in a nice way, right? If you're a jerk, you're not going to get to play. If you're slow, you're not going to get to play. If you are too big of a winner, you're not going to get to play. And that's what's happening in high-stakes cash games now. If you like this if you're loving this, click like and subscribe. Yeah, if you're loving this, click like and subscribe. Leave comments. All that stuff's great. How do you explain Phil Hellmuth open folding pocket jacks with his white magic for a 3 big blind raise under the gun? You know, Louis Philippe, I'll tell you, the other day, same tournament I played with Phil Hellmuth, where Phil Hellmuth raised the 3 big blinds out of his 8 big blind stack. I made it 8 big blinds with pocket 10s. Folds around him and he folds pocket 8s face up. And it was the correct fold. He has to be exactly against an overpair to make it a right fold, but it was the quote-unquote right fold. Next hand he got on with 5-3 against King Jack and won. So, you know, that's working. That said, in that same tournament, this kid was playing a lot of hands and folds to this kid in middle position. He raises, like slightly bigger than normal. Folds around to me. I have ace-jack offsuit with like 12 big blinds, which is normally just a no-brainer all in. But something just didn't seem right, man. Louis Philippe, I could just look and tell something was up. So I folded the ace-jack. Middle position versus button. My button. And turns out he had pocket queens. And, like, how do you know? I don't know, man. You can just look and tell. And Hellmuth may be the best at just looking and telling. Should you ever show your cards when not required? Only if you want to. What kind of bankroll do I recommend for sit and goes? Heads up, 9-max, and sit-max. Well, those are very different games, Andre. But a lot. Sit and goes have a lot of variance because edges are low. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. You probably fold 90% of flops where you have no pair and no draw. Especially in multi-way pots. That's fine. Is this a leak? Maybe. I push hard. This is not a very good question. We need to know much more information. And we have no information here. Need lots and lots of hand examples. This is where a coach would go very, very far to helping you. If you're a poker coaching member, you can get on my Discord. We have a Discord channel now for poker coaching. If you're a poker coaching member, send us an email. We can get you on that. And there's a thread for hands, and that'll be very useful. Definitely get a coach if you have problems with things like this, where you think you may be making pretty big mistakes on a regular basis. Also, check out the Cash Game Masterclass. Go to pokercoaching.com/cash. And again, go through the flop section. That'll be very, very beneficial for you. All right, jacks, 2.5 big blinds in the hijack, big blind calls, 7-6-5 all clubs, better check, check. You think this logo up here, you think this logo is distracting. Where is it? I can't even grab it. Well, I tell you what you can do. Take the screen, like pull it above your monitor so that part is not in it. Let's see. Well, I come to Boston's Encore. Yeah. They're 25.50 all the time. Oh, man, I may have to start going. Have you tried taking notes in Excel? No. Do you tighten up with a big stack in tournaments? No. If anything, you should play a few more hands. Who are the greatest poker players of all time? I don't know. I have a blog post out there. My 9 most influential, or maybe it's 10, my 10 most influential poker players. Let's see if I can find it. Come on, Google, don't fail me. All right, good. Here we have it. I'll send you all a link. I have a few paragraphs about each person. I'll quickly run through them for you. We have Dave Benefield, Raptor. If I did not meet him, I would not know a lot of people. I met him on a poker forum. He helped me meet everybody else I know to some extent. So Dave Benefield. Shannon Shore, who's currently near the chip lead in EPT Barcelona with like 20 people left. He was the best man at my wedding and helped me a ton. Bill Seymour, my first poker coach. He sold me pokercoaching.com before it was pokercoaching.com. And he helped me learn not to be an idiot. Andrew Roble. Ooh, Andrew Roble's the boss now. Andrew Roble was not the boss when I met him, but he was always one of the best sit-and-go players in the world. And he taught me to get in shape and do good things, do good works. Greg Shahade, you all may know his sister, Jennifer. They both play a lot of chess. Greg was my first sit-and-go coach, and he made my return on investment go up about 2%. David the Dragon Pham. Now, David the Dragon definitely has some life leaks, but he taught me just to get in there and go for it. Lee Markolt. If I had to pick a poker daddy, Lee Markolt is my poker daddy in that he, like, if you just play with him, you will learn so much about being a good, well-respected human in the poker world, while also crushing everyone and taking everybody's money. So I like Lee Marco a lot. Aaron O'Rourke, the Dolly Man. Dolly Man taught me a lot on the internet. He was a cash game coach to me to some extent. He taught me a lot about edges, gambling, etc. I learned a lot from him too. Hoyt Corkins, the cowboy. He's my hiking buddy. I love Hoyt Corkins. He is fantastic. He's a lot of fun. He also taught me, don't be afraid. Mike Sexton, the greatest poker ambassador, inspired me to be here with all of you today. So there you go. 10 most influential poker players for me. Tips on turbo tournaments. Just play like a regular tournament. Realize, though, you're playing shallow or stacked. Let's see. You're buying my bundle tomorrow. Go buy it today. Someone said that most cash game players are losers and isn't 10 big blinds per hour only the top 1% of players. I don't know. I don't know. Is it bad to be colluding? Yeah, don't collude against people. Is it that detrimental in Limit Hold'em? Not really. We discussed politics already. How do I deal with downswings? I don't care because I keep an adequate bankroll. Playing 2-5 live. What bankroll should you have? Depends on your skill level, right? The idea of I need a bankroll for a specific game is asinine. You need a bankroll based on your edge and the expected variance in the game. Some people will be fine with a 10K bankroll, only 20 buy-ins. Like if you plot me down with $10,000, I'm probably going to jump into 2-5 and go from there. That said, I would not recommend that for most people. I think that would be ridiculous because they probably don't have as much of an edge. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll and you will see. How far would you go exploitative versus GTO? Maximal exploitation, especially if you don't play with the same people on a regular basis. How should you tip in cash games or tournaments? They already take a tip in cash game or in tournaments. They already take a 3% tip in tournaments, so do not feel inclined to tip more, that's for sure. I usually tip a little bit more, though. The other day I cashed for $97,000 in a tournament where I won that trophy, and I think I tipped like $1,000, and 2 of my friends said that I was an idiot for that. Because they already take 3% of the whole prize pool. Do you think we may ever do a meetup game with people like Alex Fitzgerald? It's not a bad idea. Problem is meetup games take a lot of work as far as I know. Kevin Smith, like you said though, hey, Kevin Smith. You'll be in Vegas in February. I'm definitely not in Vegas in February. But if you want to set up a meetup game during the World Series, I bet I could get our coaches to come. Do other poker coaching members answer questions on Discord? They absolutely do. Go get on the Discord if you're a poker coaching member. It's kind of new. We haven't promoted it too much. We're just testing it out to see how it's going. But, yeah, check it out. Play fast or slow with bottom set in a multi-way pot. Always fast. Best made hands and draws. Unless you're trying to be just like super balanced, you want to be betting them because people just don't fold all that often. Especially if you're not blasting it. Also, though, bottom set in particular is a very good hand to bet because you're not blocking top pairs and whatnot, right? So it's very different than top set. Top set should be slow played sometimes. Like if you look at the GTO solvers, bottom set is almost never slow played. Top set is almost always slow played. And it has to do with blockers. Who is my poker mentor? I don't really have a poker mentor at this point. I try to learn from everyone who I can learn from, which is almost everyone. I've learned a ton from the Poker Backing Group. They're actually the reason this book, Modern Poker Theory. I learned more making this book, helping editing this book and making this book pretty, than I have doing anything else. This book taught me a ton. And you may say, how'd you find the author? Michael Acevedo. Michael Acevedo, this guy here, was Pokar's Pio solver and Munker solver expert. Also an absolute crusher when he plays, but he loves studying and learning from the game more than he loves playing, so he doesn't play all that much. And like this, look, I wanted this book. You have to realize now at this point, I am making content with the idea of what would I want? Like if I could pick to have 5 of the best poker players in the world making a little coffee every morning at a different hour, I'd spend 5 hours of my day watching their content, like if I could handpick them, right? And like that is what I would want. So I'm trying to give that to all of you. If you all like me and want to show up for an hour every day, or 3 times a week, I'm happy to do it. I wanted a good, solid book on game theory. So I'm like, who do I know who can make a good, solid book on game theory? Michael Acevedo. He naturally does not speak English, so his English was a little rough. I had to fix it. It was a lot of work, but I am happy to do that to get the product that I want. The manual on GTO Poker. Oh, goodness. It's funny now, everyone's like saying, oh my gosh, have you guys heard about this PioSolver thing? You all may not know this, but PioSolver only does heads-up scenarios. There's a program called Munker Solver, which is much more in-depth. It's been out for 4 or 5 years. And it does multi-way spots. Most people are playing pre-flop based on what PioSolver suggests, whereas in reality, you should be playing pre-flop based on what Munker Solver suggests, which is actually a little bit more loose, a little bit more call-y, especially in late positions. And the small blind and the big blind. That said, it's kind of tough to go too wrong following either. If you have a day when you're not hitting your flush and gut shots, does your confidence change? No. Why do I care if I'm getting lucky or not? Just keep playing fundamentally sound poker. DLP. It sounds like you were really, really concerned with the short run. And the short run is irrelevant because volume cures variance. Quite often, this mindset you have, oh man, I'm missing my flushes today, is a sign of someone who is gambling. Someone who does not have a very fundamentally sound strategy built into their brain. Why did I not answer your question? Let's go see. I probably missed it. Have you seen all the questions that we've been sent? I haven't answered all of them. I only answered like 90% of them. Sorry. Where is it? Look how long ago it was. Type it in again and I'll answer it. I mean, look, I can't even see it. All right. You're from New Jersey. You turned 21 a few months ago. You've been studying all my books and websites. Good. How much should you bring to your first 1-2 session? Depends on your bankroll, right? Depends on how much edge you expect to have. But I mean, go there with $400, see what happens. That's what I would do. Go there, play with 200. If you get stacked, play with 200 again. And if you lose, then go home. Take it easy. You're probably going to be somewhat inclined to have mindset issues if you're new and first starting. I know I had all the mindset issues when I was 21. I was an idiot when I was 21. And you probably are too. Hopefully not, but maybe you are too. And if you are, then you want to make sure you're protecting your bankroll. Speaking of people who are not an idiot, one of my students, Blas Zerjal, turned $20 into $1.3 million on Party Poker last year in a big tournament. He got very lucky. Parlayed into parlay. Now he has $1.3 million. And he is the most level-headed young person I know. I don't know how old he is. Maybe he's 25 or something. And he's like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy an apartment for me, an apartment for my parents. I'm going to finish college. I'm going to invest $1 million into some sort of ETF, a bunch of ETFs, so they make 5 to 6 to 7% a year. That's going to pay all of my living expenses in Slovenia. And then I'm going to have about $300,000 left over for poker bankroll. And now he's playing $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 blind tournaments. And he's already doing great. He had 2 final tables last week in Germany, and that guy's going to get it done. He's way smarter than I was as a kid. But to be fair, I did not have any role models or mentors when I was young that would really firm that up for me. I mean, I had Bill Seymour, who was, he's 70 years old now. But he was a poker player in the 80s and 90s and had been through a lot, right? And he was the one always telling me, make sure you set aside money whenever you win. Make sure you don't go on tilts. Make sure you keep your average buy-in low. He was all about keeping expenses, not super nitty or anything, but he was all about just not punting off your money. Probably because he punted off all of his money a time or two. And he wanted to make sure I didn't do that. So I was always a little bit more risk averse than a lot of my peers, but at the same time, I was still an idiot. Let's see. What friend did I go to Foxwoods with? He's rather famous, so I'm not going to out him. We'd be great if we had a Poker IQ test book. Basically, a lot of examples is what you want. Okay. If you win a whole lot of money online, you take the money out and put it in your bank. If you take it out and put the money on a bank, you have to pay taxes. In theory, you're supposed to pay taxes on whatever you win or lose in poker. Doesn't matter if it goes to your bank account. So Eric, I would definitely tell you to consult a tax professional. Ray Condler is probably your person. He knows all about international gambling tax laws. On my first TV final table, could I concentrate and play under the spotlight? First TV final table was at the PCA. Let's see if I have this thing. Let's see. A long time ago, look at this dusty thing. They would give you a card protector if you final table in World Poker Tour events. Can you all see this? On the back of it, it says what event it's from. This one's from North American Poker Championship. You see North American Poker Championship? You probably can't see that. Oh, there you go. So anyway, they would give you these little things. How cool. Then I took 5th place. I have a bunch of these things. We have 4 of them. They don't give them anymore. Turns out everything they used to do that was good at the World Poker Tour, they stopped doing. They stopped giving away sweet little trinkets that made you feel good for winning. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. Now I have to win this big trophy. And then I didn't win the trophy. I took 5th place. And I actually played a hand or two pretty poorly, so I guess in theory the lights did get to me. That said, all you can do is sit there and play your best. I was preoccupied with the idea that my opponents were going to try to run big bluffs on me. And to be fair, I had some absolute lunatics at the table. I had Isaac Haxton, who back in the day, he was just like, try to run a bluff every orbit. I think he's learned to not do that anymore. We also had Ryan Doubt, who was very loose aggressive. We had Rob Mizrachi, who gets after it sometimes. So maybe my strategy wasn't all that bad. But I got it in bad one time and got a chop. I was lucky, and then I lost a flip, and I was out. I mean, like, my all-in hand was just fine. I had ace-king, and that was it. You got bluffed yesterday. You had top pair. He checked when the 3rd heart came and bet about half pot when the 4th came. I call a lot on the river in that spot. You have to understand, they're only going to have a flush about 40-ish% of the time. So what are your pot odds, right? Did the poker coaching member that I won, wait, where is this question? Did Blas recently make himself known on the site? He's well known now. You can look him up. His name's Scarmaker or something like that on Party Poker. B-L-A-Z. I'm sure if you look up B-L-A-Z Party Poker, it'll come right up. If you live in Chicago, what percentage tax do you have to pay? I have no idea, man. You think I don't know. I'm not a tax professional. Don't ask me tax questions. These are poker questions. It's very important to realize what you know and what you don't know. And there's a lot of things I don't know. Like people ask me if they're aliens. I don't know. I've never met one, as far as I know. It's hard for you to remember the content. Practice, 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 study, study, study. Practice. Sounds like you need to be practicing more, Blas. If you're just reading, reading does not necessarily help you absorb the knowledge. So you need to practice, which is why at pokercoaching.com we have the quizzes and the homework challenges to let you practice. Very different than almost every other training site out there that just wants you to watch passively. I want you to get in there and essentially play and get practice. And that's why I made the site. Because again, I make the content and the sites that I wish I had as a young poker player, or that I wish I had today. And it's there for you. All you have to do is go get it. Pokercoaching.com. Can you recommend books on mindset? Positive Poker and Peak Poker Performance. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/books. They are right there for you. What's the highest cash games I've ever played? 200, 400. I used to play a lot of 200, 400 PLO online, short stacking. Then I also played some 200, 400 no limit live, not short stacking. Both have gone very, very well. That said, I always played in soft games, right? Game selection is very important. You still have the chip sets they used to give out for winning WPTs. I have a few of them. If you go to a WPT charity tournament, they might give you one if you last very deep in the tournament. There you go. How do you play against beginners in a home game who are limping a lot? Play better hands than they do. Is limping sometimes a good option? Sure. Don't think that limping is necessarily bad. Because limping's not bad. Are there any videos of me on YouTube playing at a final table of a tournament? I know there's one that Poker Night in America made for Party Poker. I think it was like a year and a half ago. I final tabled a 10K that I took second place in. I'm sure you can find that. I'm sure if you just Google Jonathan Little Party Poker, Jonathan Little Party Poker will probably bring it right up. Party Poker Caribbean or something like that. You assume I went to Foxwoods with Mike Dentali. I saw him there arguing with the dealer. You can be pretty sure I'm not going to be going to do anything with anyone who's arguing with the dealer. You mentioned cultivating an aggressive image in a tournament. Would you suggest doing that in cash games? Sure. In PLO, should you fold the nut straight against pop bets if you don't have a redraw? Depends on how deep you are, Jed. Right? Remember, it's not only what are my cards, it's also what is going on. When's the best time to register? On time, in my opinion, unless you can buy in super duper late. How much is poker coaching? Poker coaching is $39 a month. Poker coaching premium, which is what I suggest all of you get if you really want to spend a lot of time actively working on your game, is $99 a month. As Kevin says, worth every penny. There's infinite content there. There's over 500 quizzes, a bunch of homework challenges, the Cash Game Masterclass, which I just released, a bunch of 1-2 live games that we just put up there. Every month, we're adding new content. Think about like how Netflix adds new content every month for the same price. We're adding new content every month. And we're doing that for you. Is Poker Snowy a worthwhile tool? I think it is, especially if you are a little bit too loose, a little bit too aggressive. And really, look, whenever you're using a program like Poker Snowy, it's going to tell you you're making a lot of errors, quote-unquote errors. But what you want to look for are the blunders. And, like, I can play all day and never make a blunder. And that's good. It means I'm not just making any sort of atrociously bad play. Every once in a while, I'll make a play that it doesn't really like. The other day, I was playing on it, and button raise, I had King 9 offsuit, and it suggested flat call. Kind of like Munker Solver would suggest, actually. Whereas if you look at a program like Pio Solver, it may suggest 3-bet. And I 3-bet, and it said that was significantly worse than calling. Not a blunder, like it's okay, but not the best option. And that's interesting, and you can look at the strategy that it uses, and presumably the strategy it uses is somewhat reasonable, and it's flatting a lot of decently strong hands, decently strong medium strength hands. So anyway, like that's something for me to look into more, right? There'll be spots where, well, whatever, I'm not going to get into it too much. I actually have a few weekly poker hands coming out next month where I'm actually using Poker Snowy to give me some content for weekly poker hand, and you'll see. Be patient. Watch weekly poker hand. Also, I have a video coming out on YouTube and so much. Why am I so boring? I don't know, man. It's tough to be exciting all the time. What advice to read hands better? Learn how people play. You've gone from 100 to 1,500 online since you started studying more. Good. Don't squander it. Keep working hard and playing well. Is there a place where you can play online poker and not have to pay tax? England, as far as I know. But I don't know. Consult Google. How do you decide when to accept an invite to a private game when you don't know anyone playing across the table? I don't know, Joel. Do whatever you think feels right. Most private games, though, they either rake a lot, they don't pay out very well, they have a lot of problems. And I don't play a whole lot of private games. Is it okay if you're only drinking grapefruit juice and not coffee? Sure, drink whatever you want. Can I give insight into ICM? Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com. All right, you know what to do. Go to YouTube. Let's see if this works. I'll find a link. YouTube. Jonathan Little ICMizer. Let's see what Google gives me for this. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, here's a link. Go to this link and watch some ICMizer videos. I have them right there for you. Any advice for a satellite? Read Bernard Lee's chapter in Excelling at No Limit Hold'em. That's really all you need to know. Satellites are not all that difficult. They are, in fact, one of the easiest games to play. And this is why you see like almost no one having a positive ROI in the high stakes ones, because the games aren't actually that difficult. But basically, play kind of normally early. If you triple or quadruple up, then start playing pretty snug. This is not boring. Good. Well, we don't have any flashy bells and whistles. I know a lot of people have a little device that makes lots of flashy bells and whistles. And they'll have streamers popping up, and they'll have a bird in the back, and they'll have a chihuahua, and they'll have a chimpanzee, and they'll have money falling from the ceiling, and they'll have beautiful men and women strutting around. Sorry, I don't have all those things. I don't have the budget for that yet. But one day, with your support, we will become not so boring. I mean, look, we have a fancy green screen back here. Look, you can't really touch it. None of this stuff is real. Speaking of which, let's put this stuff back. Look, I don't even have proper pants on. I have an adult shirt on, but not even proper pants. I have gym shorts on. Can't even afford slacks. But, yeah. One day we'll be famous. Oh, we have a logo. That's right. We have a new fancy logo right up here. A Little Coffee with Jonathan Little. Funny enough, Instagram's thinking, what are you doing, Jonathan? On all the other channels where you can watch this, there's a fancy little logo right here. But yeah, why are we not exciting? You know, there's always this thought, like, what is good for a poker game? Do people want you to be exciting and causing a ruckus? Not a bad ruckus, a good ruckus. Like, think Daniel Negreanu, right? He's not causing a bad ruckus. Everything he does is generally lighthearted and like in good spirits, right? Whereas if you take someone like Mike Dentale, he's trying to fight you, and that's very different. Do you need to be outgoing like Daniel Negreanu? And I think the answer is definitely no. But you do need to be casual and nice and not a jerk, right? And that's not so hard to do. If you are naturally a jerk, ask yourself, why? Why am I a jerk? Why am I doing these things that are not nice and not good? And stop it. You need to be a good human. And if you're a good human, then you're probably pretty good for poker. During the post-Moneymaker boom, you don't think you heard the words poker range one time. When did that become a thing? It's been a thing for a long time. A long time ago, a guy named Cole South wrote a book called Let There Be Range, or something like that. And the book was like $3,000. Pricey book. My books are only like $10. Maybe my books aren't as good as his. Anyway, that book came out, I don't know, 2004, 2005. So there you go. Just depends on how with the community you are. Kind of like right now on Twitter. People are talking about PioSolver a lot, not understanding that program's been out for like 8 years. And Munker Solver is the program they should be referring to, but they're not, right? Because they just don't know. And at the top, you have almost all the information. At the low and medium stakes, you get what trickles down. And range has been a thing for forever. But maybe you didn't hear it because you were not at the top, right? Being entertaining isn't as important as being informative. Well, it depends on who you're talking to, Mark, right? A lot of people love entertainment. They don't really care about information and bettering themselves. You're doing a great job. Good. You're welcome. Isn't it better to flat ace king because at 4-bet, when you get 3-bet, Mike, I'm not sure what you're saying. It doesn't really matter. Ace king's great. Why don't I have any pants on? No, I do have pants. I have gym shorts on because it's hot in here. Someone tried to insult you. What's wrong with people? Yeah. What's my in-hand thought process? Go to pokercoaching.com, get a free trial membership, go to the oldest homework challenge, and do the 3 or 4 that I have there that are free for you. That is my thought process in hand, or in game. When do I leave the table and live cash? When I feel like playing. When I feel like no longer playing. Is it weird when you make a deep run in a big tournament only to feel like in the end you just got lucky? I just got lucky when I won this trophy right back here. I won every hand. Didn't do anything particularly special. I just won every hand. I played good fundamentally sound poker and they gave me a trophy. You're not always going to feel like I crushed my opponents, I played so well, etc., etc. Quite often you're just going to get good cards and not lose with them. So that's it for today. Hope you all have a good time. Enjoy yourselves, have fun. We will be back on Monday, bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, with another episode of A Little Coffee. If you've not already, head over to pokercoaching.com/cash to get my cash game masterclass. Also, if you want to sign up to pokercoaching.com/premium, it's included. So, hope you enjoy that. Good luck in your games, have fun, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Next time we'll have more bells and whistles. I will go buy a little bell like they have at a hotel so I can bang on the bell. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Okay.